So I'm here today to talk about the impact that inflation has on construction and its effect over time. So a little bit of an introduction. I think that the word inflation usually is associated with a bad connotation, but that's not always the case. Um, I really wanted to look at the effect that inflation has on construction and how some of the construction jobs and the buildings have inflated over the years and dig a little bit deeper into that to get some more good data. So the first piece of data that I gathered was the average jobs in thousands from 2011 to 2020. That was interesting to see because you can see in 2020, obviously because of the pandemic, you can really see the jobs in the construction industry fall off. Whereas every year before that, there was a nice inflation in the numbers, meaning there were being more jobs created. The next piece of information or data that I collected was some bigger cities. Today we'll talk about San Francisco, which is the main one I focused on, but I also gathered data just for comparison reasons on New York City and Houston, Texas, and San Francisco, California. Um, as you can see in the right hand side, I chose the inflation rate of remodeling a bathroom in San Francisco over the years, so from 1988 to 2019. The reason I chose that one is because I chose a couple different construction projects, so like roofing houses, remodeling bathrooms, kitchens, things like that. They all exactly had almost like this exact same pattern, so I just chose one that I liked the most, and that's the one that I went with. And you can see the percentages of how it's changed on the left hand side. Um, I also wanted to kind of compare it to the annual construction activity in San Francisco over the past couple of years to see if it kind of had the same type of graph, to see if inflation was kind of dictating what was happening or if it wasn't. As you can see between the two graphs, looking at them, it shows things like apartments, retail, offices, and family on the top graph. Just kind of give you like a wide variety because they all have bathrooms, they're all doing remodeling, they're all doing construction. So inflation really didn't have a big thing on what was being built newly. The more impact that that had was things like tech, the dot-com thing, so bigger events that happened, especially in San Francisco, where like Silicon Valley is. So inflation didn't have as much to do with how people were building. So it was kind of a two-part thing. I wanted to look at the inflation of just the actual inflation of what the construction jobs were. Were they going up? Were they going down? As you can see from 1988 to 2019, the inflation rate actually dropped. So compared, it's actually gotten better. And then I wanted to see, once I looked at how the inflation had progressed in construction, did it have a direct correlation to building new things? So you can say that since inflation has gone down, it's cheaper, it's easier, relatively speaking, that more people are building because you can see that it has gone up constantly. But it's a stronger orientation with a big boom in tech, things like that. Those graphs are almost identical to each other. So overall, the data was pretty interesting conclusion. New York, Houston, Texas, and San Francisco all kind of had the same remodeling graphs go on for inflation and how it's dictated over time. And the construction jobs is also very interesting to see that they had grown every year up until 2020 when the pandemic happened.